Welcome back. As promised, I was going to go ahead and do a little video series on my upgrades or tune-up, I guess, of my amp. This is a Sound Valves VTA 70i, made by a company that no longer exists, that was in Columbus, Ohio, I think. So this is basically a modernized version of a Dynaco 70, which was a very popular kit amp in the 60s. And it uses 4 EL34 or 6 CA7 tubes in a push-pull configuration. Originally, the signal tubes, or the tubes here were, they used a combo tube, a 7199, which was actually a kind of a, since this was a do-it-yourself kit, it was a cheap alternative to having 4 separate tubes, so it was a combo tube. However, that tube doesn't exist anymore. Well, most tubes don't exist anymore, but anyway, it's not that it was a bad tube, it's just that now they're quite expensive. Dynaco sold a boatload of these things, and they're still floating around, and there are companies that make modern versions and even replacement parts for them under several different websites that do that. Anyway, so this particular version was this company, Sound Valves, bought all the leftover stock and the rights to Dynaco back in the 80s, and they were one of the companies that sold updated components and new boards and whatnot. So this was something that they created to replace. I mean, it was sort of an evolution of the Dynaco 70. So instead of having a don't quote me on this because I'm kind of going from memory, but instead of having a 5U4, I think, tube rectifier, it's solid state. And instead of using the 7199 tubes, this uses a 6GH8A tube, which is basically the same thing as the 7199 with a slight different pinout. They actually make converter sockets for Dynacos that you can use a 6GH8A in. That tube is rather ubiquitous. They're cheap. In the middle 60s, RCA came out with that tube, and basically they put it in just about every TV they could pump out. They do sort of have a notorious reputation of burning up rather quickly in television sets, but that's most likely due to the fact that being a high gain tube, RCA really pushed the limits on it. And give me a second here, because I don't know why I'm spacing out on the type of tube that is. But it is a medium, I guess it wasn't a high mu. It's a medium mu triode and a sharp cutoff pentode. So previously in amplifiers they would have had it separated out into 4 tubes. So anyhow, what I need to do here is I already updated the film capacitors. This is sort of my Franken amp. I do all sorts of reading and read up on stuff, and then decide this is where I try new things. So I bought this in 2002. It's got a gajillion hours on it, and I figured it was time to replace the electrolytics. They probably aren't bad because this is only 12 years old, but being that I like to experiment, I don't think the film caps were bad either. I just didn't quite care for the sound of it. Originally it came with Soviet tubes. Oh, I guess I'm not supposed to say that. It originally came with Russian tubes, but I have since upgraded the tubes, or rolled the tubes several times. I settled in on, right now I'm using some Pavane or Pavane, I don't know how to pronounce their name, but it's spelled Psvane, EL34s, which are based on the Mullard, or Mullard EL34. So that is their EL34 UK tube. I actually do like the way they sound, and I've settled in on RCA 6GH8As. I don't really think I can tell much of a difference between this RCA or the Sylvania or Philips or GE or any of the other dozens of 6GH8As I've tried, although in my mind I think I can. So, and that's pretty much the same with all the film caps. Most of them probably sound the same, but I think the ones that I'm using now sound the best. And again, everybody's hearing is different, and because I paid the most money for the ones that I think I like, that may be the actual influence on why I think they sound the best. But I thought I would also clean it up a little bit. I'd already repainted the tops here. This was this poor amp was actually in the same room with a 200-gallon saltwater aquarium for about 10 years. So needless to say, there's corrosion here and there. So I also think I'm going to swap out the bolts, maybe use brass just to match the gold front. But anyway, I've been yakking and yakking here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this on its side just for a moment, show you the interior and the output transformers and everything, and the power transformer weigh a ton. So what I'm using here are, these are Mundorf, actually these are aluminum in oil capacitors, and these are the Evo series. They do look a little funky. They look like hay rolls, as one of my friends put it. The trick with the Mundorfs are that they wind them forward and backward, and so by doing that they supposedly eliminate internal induction. So that's their claim to fame. Normally I would not have used what many people would consider these boutique caps because they cost more, and some people believe that they're hyped a lot. These were not that expensive. I think they were about $8 a piece, including shipping. I had to order them from Canada. So, anyway, normally these wouldn't be so expensive, except for since this Dynaco is based off a Dynaco design, most coupling caps nowadays don't go as high in, these are 0.68, and nowadays you usually get 0.1 to 0.22, some a little higher, but I guess some, this is, that's the design they settled on here. So it's just a very simple motherboard. I guess it would help if I zoomed out. And I actually put this together. I'm not sure why I didn't. Normally when you see the underneath of an amp, you're going to see a lot of these wires really twisted together. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure why I didn't twist them more. But I don't get any hum from this amplifier, so I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter in this one. But anyway, another thing I'm going to swap out is even as little as 12 years ago, this doesn't have a safety cap in it. It has, typical of what I've seen, it's got, this is a 0.01, and it's a 2K volt, 2 kilovolts. Some of them I've seen are 6, but I'm going to definitely swap that one out. And again, as I said, I put this thing together. It was a kit. The board did come pre-assembled, so really all I shouldn't say I put it together. I mean, I did put it together. It really wasn't a kit. I just assembled it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wow, I talked a lot about this amp. So I'm going to go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap these up to the top side. This did have a cover, but over the top, but it gets hot as heck. And originally the Dynacos did not have a cover here. It was exposed. They did have a cage that went over the top. I never ordered the optional cage because it was another $90, and this was, I think I paid $700 for this back in 2002, so that was quite a bit of money for me then. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and swap these out. I'm going to put the caps up on the top. I will no longer be able to put the lid on it, but that's okay because I paid a lot of money for these capacitors, and I guess it's sort of bragging rights to show that you bought expensive capacitors, or a big sign on your forehead that says I take my money. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of soldering on this, and I will be back. Okay, I'm back after a couple of hours. Home Depot and Lowe's, and I forgot the other place I went. Nothing. Nobody has anything that goes beyond 2 inches in size 8. So in brass, that is. One place did have, it was Lowe's, did have 8 by 32 by 3 inches, but they only had a package with 2 in them. So the other hardware store that may have had them would have been Elliott's, the place I get the Mohawk stuff, but they only have one location open on Sundays in Plano, and I was pretty far away from there, and it was 4 o'clock. So what I ended up doing was going over to a little hardware store that I knew about, but I just don't know why I don't think about them. They're much like Elliott's without the Mohawk stuff, and it's actually much closer to me, and it is called Gecko Hardware. And it's fun because they have a mascot in there that's a rooster, and his name is George. And I meant to try to take a picture, but there were a bunch of annoying old people that were all surrounding his cage and carrying on like their weekly conversation as if they lived out in the middle of the country and this was the only day they got out. Which is kind of funny because I'm in the middle of Dallas. But anyway, so what I ended up with were stainless steel screws to replace the galvanized. These are 2.5 inches. The ones that were in here were snipped off at, I guess, 2 1/4. I could always cut these down, and I probably will. Excuse me for yawning on the camera. But anyway, so I got some stainless steel screws to replace the corroded galvanized ones. And I didn't. I only got enough for the output transformers. But anyway, so I was going to go ahead and test these voltages here. I have it on, and it's set at 122 or 3, I guess. I suppose I could, well, anyway. It's where it is, and where it should be. And, so let's see here. The power transformer, I should really invert this picture, because it's backwards, but... so I should be getting, from red to red, I should be getting 660 volts, and I am. And from red to yellow, 330, close enough. And the other red to yellow is supposed to be 330, so that's give or take. This is with no load, of course. Between red and black and red and yellow, I should be getting 55, and I'm getting 53. Filament tap 1. Let's see, green to green should be 6.3, but there's no load, so it's 6.9. And from the center tap, it should be 3.3. Close enough. Same with the brown. 6.9. 3.3. Oops. Getting sloppy now. 3.3, give or take. Okay, so the power transformer is good. I'm always paranoid about this because, like I said, one of the reasons this company went out of business is the first OEM manufacturer they had making their transformers sucked. particularly in their preamp, which I also have. So by the time I bought this, supposedly they had a new OEM manufacturer, and however, they basically went bankrupt by replacing the power transformers on everything else they sold prior to 2000, 2001, 2002. Or so the story goes. I don't know for sure. So, alright, the voltages do check out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and flip this board up. I'm just hesitating because I'm not sure if I want to replace the electrolytics and then swap these. Oh, I don't know. I guess we'll find out in the next segment. So I will be right back. I'm back. I removed the electrolytics. And I'll tell you what, that was a big pain in the butt. I'm not sure, but I'm going to have to look at this further. Looks like the first two I removed had this copper sleeve around it, and I'm wondering if it pulled it out of the board. You know, the traces are okay, but so yeah, the first two I took out, which are going to be C1 and C2, had these copper bands around them or whatever. They were really hard to get out. The other two just basically fell out here, which is C3 and C4. So that was kind of weird. And I also definitely need to clean out my solder sucker because it just spilled crap everywhere. So now I've got to be careful that it didn't get down into the tube sockets. It's on the other side of the board, so I'm not as concerned. But yeah. So I thought, while I'm here, and I'm going to end up having to split this into a couple of videos. I talk so much. So as you can see, I turned on my Sencor. I was just curious to see. These are 68 microfarads at 450 volts. So I thought, all wrapped up under here, I thought we would give these a test. They've been in here for 12 years, and this thing's been through a couple of sets of tubes. So that's kind of precarious. So let's see if you guys can see. I'm only at 25 volts, so it's 67. That's not bad. Let's check for leakage. Well, they are leaky a little bit. I just had this on this morning, so oh, there it goes. Should go down to 0 pretty quick, I would think, though. Let's just throw caution to the wind. I hope this thing doesn't blow up. I don't know if you guys can see. No, I'm blocking it. It's thinking about it. There we go. You know, I don't know how, I know that they always leak a little bit when you first turn them on. They're supposed to go down pretty quick. Although, I don't know, this seems kind of slow to go down, considering, like I said, I just had it on while you guys were here. And there was 400 volts floating through them because I had checked that earlier. So, let's see, what am I up to here? 400. Obviously don't want to go past their limit. Well, yeah, these are kind of leaky. Of course, I haven't tested the new ones yet. I'd imagine if I sat here long enough, I'm sure they would return to zero pretty quick. They are Nichicon, so I don't, if I remember correctly, most of these do go down pretty low. By the way, as you can see how long this is kind of taking when you're reforming the caps, this is why you want to have your little spring thing. The little spring plunger that holds the leakage button down. Although this is kind of, yeah. And my finger's starting to hurt, but if you notice, the leakage is bouncing up and down. So, guess it might not be a bad idea that I'm actually replacing these. Okay, so I'm replacing these with semi-boutique caps. These are designed for audio, for filtering the high voltage. Again, I don't know exactly how... oh, for a second there I thought I bought the wrong size. I don't know how... what's the word I'm looking for? Shoot. I don't know whether they really do make a sound difference or not. Simple fact of the matter is that these were only $1 more than just the other snap-ins, and these are an out of well, they're out of, are they out of protection, or they're an obsolete product. They've been replaced, although they're the same size. And the new sleeves are black with white writing, and truth be told, one of the things was these are black with gold writing, and that's kind of one of the reasons I bought them. So let's go ahead and test the value on these here, and let's see, negative. One of these days I gotta find me some new clips. The negative clip on this is getting kind of old. Don't try this at home. Alright, so let's see what the value is here. These are a little bit lower. Of course it would. Oops. Yep, it's going up. I don't know how long these have been sitting around, but so let's go ahead and test the leakage. Well, these are 0 at 50. Let's go up to 100. Yeah, so this is returning to 0 pretty quick. 200. You know, I didn't actually have this switch on large electrolytics for the other one, so I guess I would have to go back. There we go, 0. But that's 300, and here we go at 400. As I would expect on brand new caps, these are dropping really quick. As I guess you can see. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Well, according to the Sencor instructions, it wouldn't be a bad idea to reform these each for an hour. I don't know if I'll do that. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and... This is going to get split up into 3 videos. So I'm going to go ahead and play with my caps here. And let's see, now we're at 0. Almost 0. Come on. Come on, you can do it. There you go. Ta-da! Alright. You know what? Let's go ahead and retest that one cap. If I remember correctly, these do just charge. We won't touch that. I've done that before. I took one out. I think I told you this with the 41315. I took a capacitor out of circuit while it was still live, or right after I turned it off. and I didn't even think about it, and about 20 or 30 minutes later I grabbed the cat by the leads, and boy howdy did I get woken up. That was interesting. So this may actually return to 0 because, like I said, I didn't have yeah, it's 0. Okay, so it's okay. I had the switch in the wrong place. So there you go. So these really aren't bad, but you know, they've been in there for 12 years, and well, it's time for a change. So there you go. Now, actually, you know what? The new ones are a little bit different since they're a different series. These are the CQ series and or GQ series, and I think the new ones are CQ. So, I mean the replacement model. Excuse me. So the new ones going in are actually a little bit taller and a little bit skinnier. So yeah, this is a good point to stop. I will go ahead and get these soldered in, and then I'll move these caps. So I'll make this part 1, and I'll see you in part 2.